Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into Chapter 5 of Dan Ariely's fantastic book, Predictably Irrational. We're going to talk about a single word, just one little word, that has this unbelievable, almost magical power over the way we make decisions. And that word is free. So think about this for a second, because it's a really weird quirk of human nature, right? In one situation, you might be ready to throw elbows to get a 70% discount on a wedding dress. But in another, if you see the last cookie on a plate at a party, a free cookie, you'd probably say, oh no, you have it. It's like we're two completely different people. So what's going on here? What is the little switch that flips inside our brains? To really get to the heart of this, Ariely asks us to imagine two totally different scenes. One is pure chaos, and the other is, well, it's just your average day at the office. It turns out we're basically living in two separate realities at the same time. The first one is the market world. This is where money rules. It's all about transactions, what's in it for me, costs, and benefits. Think of that running of the bride's sale, pure competitive self-interest. But then there is this social world. This world runs on community, on kindness, on sharing. It's your coworker bringing in a box of cookies just to be nice. And in that world, our behavior completely changes. So, what is it that makes us jump from that selfish market brain to our considerate social brain? Well, it all comes down to a trigger, a kind of magic word, if you will. See, the second a price tag enters the picture, any price tag, our brain just snaps into market mode. We immediately start doing the math. Is this worth it? What do I get out of this? Our thinking becomes totally transactional. But the moment you take money out of the equation, everything flips. Our social mode activates. When something is presented as a gift, we stop calculating our own personal gain. Instead, we start thinking about other people, about being fair, about the good of the group. And that's the big secret right there. The trigger is the word free. Because free isn't just a price of zero, it's a powerful emotional cue. It's like a shortcut that completely erases all those market calculations and instantly teleports us into the warm, fuzzy world of social norms. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds like a neat idea, but is it actually real? Oh, you bet it is. Ariely and his team ran some amazing experiments that prove this effect in a really clear way. Let's get into it. So picture this. If you ask any traditional economist this question, they'll tell you the answer is obvious. The cheaper something is, the more people want it. So a free candy should be way more popular than a 1-cent candy, right? Well, that's where things get really, really strange. Would you look at that? The results just blew traditional economics out of the water. When the candy cost just a single penny, students took on average 3.5 pieces each. But when the candy was totally free, the average plummeted to just 1.1. Let that sink in. People took less candy when it cost them nothing. How is that possible? Well, it's because that little word, free, flipped the social switch. All of a sudden, they weren't selfish consumers trying to maximize their candy haul anymore. They started thinking, maybe I should just take one and leave some for the next person. They became considerate members of a community. They saw this again in another experiment, this time with fancy Lindt truffles. And at first, everything behaved exactly as you'd expect. They dropped the price from 10 cents to 5, and demand shot up. They dropped it again to 1 cent, and demand went through the roof. Totally normal market behavior. But then, they made that final leap from just 1 penny to 0. Demand completely collapsed. It fell by half. The second that price hit 0, it was like people slammed on the brakes. That 1 tiny cent was the difference between two completely different universes of thought. It was the Grand Canyon separating market norms from social norms. Okay, so we've seen what money does. But what if you replace money with something else? What if you have to put in a little bit of effort instead of paying? Let's see what happens then. And these results are just so revealing. Look at the chart. When people paid just 1 cent, they were in full-on market mode. They took a whole bunch of truffles. When the truffles were totally free, social mode kicked in, and they took barely any. But here's the cool part. When they were asked to do a simple task instead of paying, they landed somewhere right in the middle. Asking for a little effort kept them from becoming completely selfish. So, you know that old saying, time is money? Well, it turns out it's not exactly right. Our brains process effort and money in very different ways.
This is why volunteering your time to help a neighbor feels so fundamentally different from just paying them to do a job. Asking for effort can keep us in that social, community-oriented mindset.
So, why are we talking about all this? I mean, it's not just about getting cookies or candy, right? This clash between our social and market selves has huge, huge implications for how we organize our entire society. Let's take a big, real-world example, cap and trade policies for pollution. Now, the idea is to create a market, to put a price on polluting, to give companies a financial incentive to be cleaner. But when you put a price on something like clean air, something we usually think of as a shared social responsibility, you might be changing the game in ways you didn't intend. Because once you do that, once pollution becomes a commodity that can be bought and sold, it risks becoming just another business expense. It's no longer a moral question about protecting our planet. It just becomes a cold, hard cost-benefit calculation on a spreadsheet. And this is the real danger that Ariely is warning us about. When we take market norms and apply them to parts of our lives that have always been social, we risk crowding out our better instincts. We could be, without even realizing it, designing a world that encourages us to be more selfish and less connected to each other. And that really leaves us with a final, profound question to chew on. What parts of our world, our communities, our relationships, our environment, should be protected from the logic of the market? What are the things in life that are so important, so priceless, that the very act of putting a price tag on them would destroy their true value?